looking upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satiated.
So I think we missed reading the last paragraph of the purport.
What? Is it?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. It appears from the verse that the inhabitants of Dwaraka were all owners of big palaces. This indicates the prosperity of the city. The ladies got up on the roofs just to have a look at the procession and the Lord. The ladies did not mix with the crowd on the street, and thus their respectability was perfectly observed. There was no artificial equality with the Lord. Female respectability is preserved more elegantly by keeping the woman separate from the man. The sexes should not mix unrestrictedly. Now, that is a view that these are actually regulations from the Dharma Shastra. And these are actually meant for the non-devotees. When you become devotee, then you do not need to follow all this. But here we notice the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were all devotees, very exalted devotees, in fact. And still they very meticulously followed all these restrictions and prohibitions mentioned in the Dharma Shastra. When we become serious devotees, then we become very attracted to following the restrictions. Chitanam Prabhu.
Right, Prabhu. I know, but still I'm just asking for my sake and for some of my known persons' sake. I was having a discussion. There is a boy who is having like not one girlfriend, like so many girlfriends, and it's not like a relationship. He just casually roams with them. So I was trying to tell him that how it is not good. But nowadays these college students, they have a notion that we are just friends, there's nothing wrong. So why you are taking like that? Why you are seeing like that? We don't see each other like that. It's just like I have a male friend, similarly I have a female friend.
See, their view is these are non-romantic friendships. Okay. But you look at the civilization which allows non-romantic friendships, non-romantic relationships of many kind between the genders. The amount of illicit relationships is very high. The amount of illicit sexual relationships is very high. If you look at how much of premarital romantic and sexual relationships are there, how much of extramarital romantic and sexual relationships are there, it is very, very high. Whereas when you examine communities which sincerely try to follow the policy, a more conservative policy, honestly, who are trying to follow a conservative policy of avoiding any relationship of any rasa between men and women, except in strictly regulated family relationship. You see which one has more of illicit relationships, illicit romantic or sexual relationship. So overall, it adds up. So they may say that it is like this, it is like that. But overall, you have to check overall whether it leads to marital stability and so on.
And just a follow-up thing in that sometimes like they even go to the extent that even if that happens, what's the problem? If I am ready, if samne wala, the opposite person, he is also okay with it, and if we do that sexual affair and then we part, then what is the problem? Why so
okay, the problem is it'll end up like like the Western countries where you don't have families. There is something called family, where there is selfless affection amongst a small group of biological mini communities. They take care of each other. Human beings emotionally require that. So when families are broken up, that means you don't have a father whom you trust, you don't have a mother whom you trust, you don't have siblings whom you fully trust, and obviously you don't trust your spouse fully. It's the stupidest thing to do. So then you become, you become emotionally starved. That's what happens. And then you need to have an appointment with your own father to have a breakfast with him. And when you grow old, your children are not going to take care of you because there is no emotional bonding. So if you're interested in families being intact, then you'll become very, very paranoid about all these things. Otherwise, you just want to imitate the West, then you suffer like the West also. I think in general, people are not quite exposed to how much the West is suffering. They just think that the West is enjoying. They don't understand how much the West is actually suffering. Emotionally, it's a big mess. It is a big mess. A big mess. Okay, let's move on.
Thank you, Prabhu.
25. Nityam nirikshamananam yadapi dwarakaukasam na vitrupyanti hi drisha shriyodhamangam achyutam. The inhabitants of Dwaraka were regularly accustomed to looking upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satiated. They went up to the rooftop, even though they regularly or constantly they look at Lord Achyuta, they were never satiated. They wanted more and more and more to see. Therefore, they went. And the reason why they were not satiated is because he was a very reservoir of beauty. When the ladies of the city of Dwaraka got up on the roofs of their palaces, they never thought that they had previously many times seen the beautiful body of the infallible Lord. This indicates that they had no satiation in desiring to see the Lord. Anything material seen for a number of times ultimately becomes unattractive by the law of satiation. The law of satiation acts materially, but there's no scope for it in the spiritual realm. The word infallible is significant here because although the Lord has mercifully descended to earth, he's still infallible. The living entities are fallible because when they come in contact with the material world, they lack that spiritual identity. And thus the body, materially obtained, becomes subjected to birth, growth, transformation, situation, deterioration, and annihilation under the laws of nature. The Lord's body is not like that. He descends as he is and is never under the laws of the material modes. His body is the source of everything that be. The reservoir of all beauty is beyond our experience. No one, therefore, is satiated by seeing the transcendental body of the Lord because there are always manifestations of newer and newer beauties. The transcendental name, form, qualities, entourage, etc. are all spiritual manifestations, and there is no satiation in chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no satiation in discussing the qualities of the Lord, and there is no limitation of the entourage of the Lord. He is the source of all and is limitless. 26. Shriyo nivaso yasyora panapatram mukham drisham bahavo lokapalanam saranganam padambhujam. The Lord's chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. His moon-like face is the drinking vessel for eyes which hanker after all that is beautiful. His arms are the resting place for the administrative demigods, and his lotus feet are the refuge of pure devotees who never talk or sing of any subject except his lordship. Etad abhinayena, now metaphorically, that is described here. His moon-like face is the drinking vessel for eyes which hanker after all that is beautiful, because it contains the nectar of beauty. Saram, Sri Krishna Gayanti ti Saranga Bhakta. This word Sarangana refers to devotees who talk and sing only of the essence or substance, and that essence or substance is Sri Krishna. Tesham yasya padambujam nivasaha tam nirikshamananam drishayati purvena anvaya. This is a continuation of the previous sentence. It's a continuation of the previous verse. It's a part of the previous verse's sentence. Sriyaha, Preyasyaha, Yaha Sarvesham Evat Priya Varganam Drishas Chakshumshi Tasam. These are all. His arms are the resting place for the administrative demigods. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains what it means. Tad balam ashityaiva surebhyo nirbhayaha te sukham vasanti iti bhavaha. It's by taking shelter of the strength of Lord Krishna's arms that Indra and other Lokapala demigods, they are devoid of any fear from the Asuras, and they reside in their respective abodes happily. Saram, tad yasho gayanti iti saranga bhakta. The sarangas are the devotees of Supreme Lord because they are singing of the glories of Lord Krishna. Saranga also has another meaning. You can refer to honeybees. Prabhupada will develop this. There are different classes of human beings, all seeking different enjoyments from different objects. There are persons who are seeking after the favor of the goddess of fortune, for them, the Vedic literatures give information that the Lord is always served with all reverence by thousands and thousands of goddesses of fortune in the Chintamani Dham, the transcendental abode of the Lord, where the trees are all desire trees and the buildings are made of that stone. The Lord Govinda is engaged there in herding the Surabhi cows as his natural occupation. These goddesses of fortune can be seen automatically if we are attracted by the bodily features of the Lord. The impersonalists cannot observe such goddesses of fortune because of their dry speculative habit. And those who are artists, overtaken by the beautiful creation, should better look to the beautiful face of the Lord for complete satisfaction. The face of the Lord is the embodiment of beauty. What is called beautiful nature is but his smile. I think this comes in second canto. And what are called the sweet songs of the birds are but specimens of the whispering voice of the Lord. There are administrative demigods in charge of departmental service of cosmic management, and there are tiny administrative gods in the state service. They're always afraid of other competitors. But if they take shelter of the arms of the Lord can protect them always from the attacks of enemies. A faithful servant of the Lord, engaged in the service of administration, is the ideal executive head and can well protect the interests of the people in general. Other so-called administrators are symbols of anachronisms, leading to the acute distress of the people who are governed by them. The administrators can remain safely under the protection of the arms of the Lord. The essence of everything is the Supreme Lord. He is called the Saram. And those who sing and talk about him are called the Sarangas, or the pure devotees. The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord, and they have a kind of honey that is transcendently relished by the devotees. Which have a kind of honey that is transcendently relished by the devotees. They're like the bees who are always after the honey. They means the devotees are like the bees who are always after the honey of the lotus feet of the Lord. The metaphor is, since the Lord's feet are compared to lotuses, then the nectar of the lotus is what is sought after by these devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami, the great devotee Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. Oh my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it's after some honey. Kindly, therefore, give my bee mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Brahma do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they're engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service of your lotus feet, but because your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please therefore let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service. The devotees are satisfied with being placed at the lotus feet of the Lord, and have no ambition to see his all-beautiful face, or aspire for the protection of the strong arms of the Lord. They are humble by nature, and the Lord is always leaning towards such humble devotees. This song is in Padyavali. Stavamala 27. Sitatapatra vyajanairupaskrita prasuna varshairabhivarshitah pathi Vishangavasa vanamalaya babhau ghano yatharko udupachapa vaidyutai. As the Lord passed along the public road of Dwaraka, his head was protected from the sunshine by a white umbrella. White hair fans moved in semicircles, and showers of flowers fell upon the road. All this, his yellow garments and his garlands of flowers, made it appear as if a dark cloud were surrounded simultaneously by the sun, the moon, the rainbow, and lightning. Titair Atapatra Vyajanair Upaskritaha. This is all. Manditaha. Artaschodugo Nakshatra Hitas Chandrascha Chapam. It's already come here. Indradhanascha Vaidhitam Vidyat Tejascha Taihi. Arkaschhatrasya Upamana Nakshatrani Pushpavishte Chandraha Paribhrama Krita Mandala Akarayos Chamara Vedanayo. He's actually translating this verse and explaining how they are compared to each other. Chapam Manamalaya Vidyut Teja Vishangavasaso Avhuta Upameyam. See this comparison here. This is called Abhuta Upama. Abhuta Upama means the verse contains various elements of comparison, all of which cannot happen simultaneously. I think the Acharyas will simply repeat it. Asambhavya Mana Upamana Samudbhavana. The sun, moon, rainbow, and lightning do not appear in the sky simultaneously. When there is sun, the moonlight becomes insignificant. And if there are clouds and a rainbow, there is no manifestation of lightning. The Lord's bodily hue is just like a new monsoon cloud. He is compared herein to the cloud. The white umbrella over his head is compared to the sun. The movement of the white hair fans is compared to the moon. The showers of flowers are compared to the stars. His yellow garments are compared to lightning. and the flower garlands on his chest are compared to a rainbow. So all these activities of the firmament, being impossible simultaneous factors, cannot be adjusted by comparison. The adjustment is possible only when we think of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. The Lord is all powerful, and in his presence, anything impossible can be made possible by his inconceivable energy. But the situation created at the time of his passing on the roads of Dwaraka was beautiful and could not be compared to anything else besides the description of natural phenomena. So the idea is that when the Lord was passing in this manner, this is how the onlookers felt. 28. Pravishtastu griham pitro parishwaktaswa matribhihi vavande shirasa sapta devaki pramukham muda. After entering the house of his father, he was embraced by the mothers present. And the Lord offered his obeisance unto them by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. Here, Pitroho refers to his father and mother, but the mother is represented by father. Devaki Pramukha Sapta Vavanda Iti Matra Saundarya Adara Vishesha Gyapanartha Muktam Ashtadashapi Vasudeva Bhariya Matatulyatman Namaskritha Eva. He offered his obeisance unto 7 mothers, beginning with Devaki. It's not Saundarya, Sodarya, correct. The mothers were biological sisters, and the Lord exhibited special respect for them. He offered his namaskar to all the 18 wives of Sri Vasudeva, because they were all equal to his mothers. Saptetyu Upalakshanam. Here 7 is just indicative, it is not exhaustive. Ashtadashapi Vasudeva Patnihi Shirasava Vande. With his head, he bowed down and offered obeisances to all the 18 wives of Sri Vasudeva. Devaki Tulyatva, because they were all equal to Devaki Devi. Why did it say Saundarya? It should be Sodarya. It should be Saudarya. Saundarya, no? Saudarya. So it looks like these 7 were biological sisters, and therefore he had additional respect. It appears that Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna, had completely separate residential quarters where he lived with his 18 wives, out of whom Srimati Devaki is the real mother of Lord Krishna. But in spite of this, all other stepmothers were equally affectionate to him, as will be evident from the following verse. Lord Krishna also did not distinguish his real mother from his stepmothers, and equally offered his obeisances unto all the wives of Vasudeva present on the occasion. According to the scriptures also, there are 7 mothers. The real mother, the wife of the spiritual master, the wife of a Brahmana, the wife of the king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. All of them are mothers. Even by this injunction of the Shastras, the stepmother, who is the wife of the father, is also as good as a mother, because the father is also one of the spiritual masters. Lord Krishna, the Lord of the universe, plays the part of an ideal son, just to teach others how to treat their stepmothers. One should be equally respectful to all of one's mothers. That is the point. Should not distinguish. Should not think that because he is born to a particular lady, he will only accept her as the mother, and the other lady he should not accept. 29. Pah putra mankam aropya snehasnutta payodhara harsha vipalitat manaha Sishi Chur Netrajai Jalai. The mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wetted the Lord. Netrajay Jalai, Harshashvavi. These were all tears of happiness. Why is this? This is a mistake. This should actually come here. And this should have gone here. When Lord Krishna was at Vrindavan, even the cows would become moistened by affection towards him, and he would draw milk from the nipples of every affectionate living being. So what to speak of the stepmothers, who were already as good as his own mother? 30. Athavashit Swabhavanam. Sarvakamam Anuttamam. Prasadayatra Patninam Sahasrani Cha Shodasha. Thereafter, the Lord entered his palaces, which were perfect to the fullest extent. His wives lived in them, and they numbered over 16,000. Swagriha Pravesham Aha. Then he entered into his own homes. Sahasrani Cha Shodasha. Iti Chakara, the word Cha, which means etc., after the word Sahasrani, indicates over and above. Correct. Ashtotra Shata Adhikani iti Geya. Sarvakamam Anuttamam. Sarve Kama Bhogayatruta. It was filled with enjoyment, all kinds of desirable enjoyments. Anuttamam, Sarvotkrishtam. They were perfect to the fullest extent, better than everything else. Most exalted. Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives. And for each and every one of them, there was a fully equipped palace, complete with necessary compounds and gardens. A full description of these palaces is given in the 10th canto. All the palaces are made of the best marble stone. They were illuminated by jewels and decorated by curtains and carpets of velvet and silk, nicely bedecked and embroidered with gold lace. Prabhupada did say, if a man wants to have more than one wife, then he should provide separate establishment for each wife. The personality of Godhead means one who is full with all power, all energy, all opulences, all beauties, all knowledge, and all renunciation. Therefore, in the palaces of the Lord, there is nothing wanting for fulfilling all desires of the Lord. The Lord is unlimited, and therefore his desires are also unlimited, and the supply is also unlimited. Everything by unlimited, it is concisely described here as Sarvakama, or full with all desirable equipment. 31. Patnya. Ashutram Bro.
So, just now you said that Ashtotar Sata. So suddenly this doubt comes, which है Sashto Saraswata Shri Srimad Shri Bhakti-vaibhava Swami Prabhupada ki jai. So why this 108 is used so much in Jai?
It is an auspicious number. It's an auspicious number.
And any reason is given that why it's considered auspicious?
Particular features of this world are auspicious and particular features are inauspicious. So when it comes to numbers, 108 is auspicious. 8 is auspicious. 108 is auspicious. So therefore.
Okay. There is
numerology is completely dependent on numbers.
And it is there in scriptures, numerology?
I had the impression that there is some a proper scriptural version, original version. I had that impression. I didn't examine it, but I had that impression it was there. There are different branches of Jyotisha. There is Samudrika, they look at the face and they predict. Then there is Hastarekha, they look at the palm lines and they predict. Then there is Jataka, they look at the horoscope and predict. There is Prashna, where they question the demigods and predict. There are different methods. And I had the impression that I can consult some astrologers and find out. But I had the impression it was there.
Tulsi has also written some kind of numerology thing, like he has written something that you, if after taking bath, reciting Lord Ram's name, you open the page of Ramchitmanas, if this number comes, how you can, I mean, the proper book Tulsi has written one in Abdi language, based on numbers and Lord Ram's name, how it can help you in your day's work and other in your future, something like that.
So it must have been there. Anyway, numbers too have significance. They're different. What now? Why only numbers? Colors. Everything has an effect. Everything within Prakriti has an effect. There are certain things which increase the tamoguna in our body and mind. There are certain things which increase the rajoguna in our body and mind. There are certain things which increase the sattva-guna in our body and mind. So many things.
So, like it's usually said that even for devotees, horoscope matching should be done. So, to what level we, like for us, like
devotees, see, those who are devotees of Krishna, they do not require astrology, vastu, varnashrama dharma, and so on. The problem is we think we are devotees of Krishna. That becomes the problem. We are aspiring to become devotees of Krishna now.
Okay.
Devotees don't require varnashrama dharma and so on. You open teachings of Lord Chaitanya, you will see that. But are we that? We are not that. So why do we have to deceive ourselves that we are that? Devotees follow this auspicious and inauspicious things. Again, I'm saying, devotees don't need to follow any of this, but we are not those devotees, no. We are just ordinary fellows who are, just like when you have some family member go to a medical college, then everybody refers to him or her as a doctor. That doesn't mean that he or she can set up a clinic and start treating patients. It is just to encourage that they speak like that. Similarly, the son of a Brahmana was often referred to as a Brahmana even by qualified Brahmanas, just to encourage them. So similarly, the children born to devotees, their parents regularly tell them, no, we are devotees, we have to go to temple, we chant 16 rounds because we are devotees. You're a devotee, how can you do like this? Even though the son, if a son of a Brahmana is not a Brahmana, son of a Vaishnava is not a Vaishnava also. Similarly, it is not that because we are initiated by a qualified Vaishnava, we are also qualified Vaishnava. Not the idea. Here's another question. If someone goes outside, cat comes, I don't know. Widow comes, I don't know these things also. You have to look into the scriptures. they wait for some time.
I was reading once stories from Puranas. In that, there is something regarding cat. Is there?
Black cat?
I don't know. Just cat was there. It's something like that. I exactly don't remember it, but it was there.
If you come across it again, post it.
Okay.
But there are plenty of omens are a big topic. Omens come in Ramayana every now and then. They come in Mahabharata, Bhagavatam also. Omenology is a big thing. It is a big thing because that is how Krishna gives an indication. The basic idea is he gives an indication that when there are inauspicious omens, he's giving us a chance to change our minds and retreat from doing something inauspicious. And when we see something auspicious, then he is making us, it's an indication that what you're doing is auspicious. Auspicious means it's good for everyone concerned. So go ahead in that. It's a science. Okay, 31. Patnyah patim proshya grhanupagatam virokya sanjata mano mahotsavah uttasturarat sahasasana shayat sakam vrater vridita lochananana. The queens of Lord Sri Krishna rejoiced within their minds to see their husband back home after a long period abroad. The queens got up at once from their seats and meditations. As was socially customary, they covered their faces shyly and looked about coyly. Proshya, Deshantre Ushitva. So the Supreme Lord had gone to some other place, some other land. He was away from home. So these ladies are the Proshita Bhartrikas. They were. Their husbands had gone to some other place. Ara Dura Deva Vilokya. Sanjato Manasi Mahotso Yasamta. So when they saw him from a distance, that was Dura. Ara. So they saw him from a distance and they rejoiced within their minds. Asana dehena uttastuhu. Ashaya antahkaranam. Tasmadapi atmana uttastuhu. Sri Krishnena atmana samshleshe antahkaranam vyavadharam apita na asahanta ityarthaha. Then you leave it. Vriditani lochanani ananani chaya santa. Upangairevo vichanad vridita lochana avanatu mukhatvad vridita. They were shy, so they were looking down. Sakam vrate iti hasya krida varjanadi niyama api tabhya utastuhu iti va. They gave up their seats, and along with that they gave up their vows. Along with their vows. That means, see, there are vows for Poshita Vartrikas, for women whose husbands are away. They don't naturally engage in jokes, nor do they engage in sports, and so on. Vratani che yagya valkyena uttani. These vows for such women are set out by Sri Yagyavalkya. Kridam Sharira Samskaram Samajot Darshanam Hasyam Paragrihe Yanam Tyaje Proshita Bhartrika iti. A woman whose husband is gone out of town, gone out of house, should give up sports, should give up beautifying her body, should give up going for social celebrations and meetings, should give up jokes, should give up going to others' homes. Ashaya tat samadhi lakshana cha uttastuhu. They gave up their seats and they gave up their meditation. It indicates that they were in a state of meditation. Yavatyo mahishyah tavadbhirev prakashaihi yugabhaddeva pratak tadtan mandira pravishtam krishnam alokamananam mameva prathamam ayam praptah iti abhimanyamananam tasam tatkalikim cheshtamaha. As many queens as there were that many manifestations of palaces. Simultaneously, Lord Shri Krishna separately entered into each of those residences, palaces. So these queens, each of them, they looked at Lord Krishna, and each of them thought, Krishna has first come to me. So their activities at that time are now brought out here. व्रतैः सहिता एव उत्तस्तुः इति तेषां व्रतानां पतिं दर्शयितुम् अनुचितानामपि सहसा त्यक्तुम् अशक्यत्वात् तैः साकमेव उत्तस्तुः. They could not to directly see their husband would be inappropriate. So they gave up their seats along with their vows. ततश्चत्तेन दृष्टाः तासाम् असंस्कृत शरीर परिच्छदता स्नेहवर्धनायैव अभूत्. So they were seen by Lord Krishna in that very state. सर्वेषु मंदिरेषु युगप्रावशति भावेनाः. Even though because their husband had just arrived, it is not appropriate to engage in those vratas. Still, they could not easily give up their vows. So therefore, they gave up the vows along with their seats. And then by looking at Lord Krishna, their affection for him increased. This should be understood. Achyutanam Prabhu. Your voice is not clear, or it is breaking or something like that.
Prabhu, is it better now?
It's a little bit
Is it better?
fuzzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was asking Prabhu that once there was a discussion, and my elders, Matajis in my family, they were asking that why only all such regulations and codes are not decorating our bodies when husband is far, and similar are for us only. Why husband is not following any such code when he is away from home? Like why all the time woman has to? And I could not
Because
answer
women are
Prabhu.
more attractive than men, and women can more easily create mischief in society than men. See, for a woman to be valuable, she doesn't have to do anything. She just has to put on a lipstick. For a man to be valuable to women, he has to do hundreds of things. He has to prove that he is strong. He has to prove that he's intelligent. He has to prove he has the 6 opulences. So for a woman, it's nothing. She just has to dress up nicely. That's all. That's all. Bang. Automatically, she is valued. Throughout the world, all countries, all communities, all religions, atheists, everyone. So therefore, in all religions, there are rules and restrictions for women, primarily. Restrictions for men are very minimal. Restrictions for women are maximal. Therefore.
Thank you.
those who are interested in, see, the whole idea is that Vedic civilization is aiming at Vairagya Vidya Bhakti. So from 1% Vairagya Vidya Bhakti to 100% Vairagya Vidya Bhakti. Now the nature of that 100% Vairagya Vidya Bhakti was demonstrated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, like the Goswamis. So all of us are meant to come to that point. All the men, all the women, everybody is meant to come to that point. We give up, literally we give up eating, sleeping, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maituna. It's not that we just theoretically, while eating, we think that, we are fully servants of Krishna. They said, you actually stop eating. Actually stop sleeping. Actually stop fearing. Give up all financial insecurities and so on. And actually give up the 8 types of association with women. So that was actually demonstrated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his renunciant associates. And that is meant to be the goal. So when you understand what is meant to be the goal of Vedic Dharma, then you understand Vedic Dharma, why particular restrictions are there, why particular things are allowed. Then you understand it. If you don't understand the goal, then you don't understand anything actually. You simply think, what is this? Some kind of torturing community, simply just saying this, you cannot do this. And the reason why it is so incompatible with modern civilization is in modern civilization, their goal is very different. Their goal is to maximize eating, sleeping, hearing, defending. Not to make it zero. It is to make it infinite. So therefore, we are absolutely incompatible with that. It's not that we just have some slight difference of opinion with modern civilization. We are just exactly opposite. Headlong collision. Exactly opposite. So therefore, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, they cannot, we cannot simultaneously subscribe to the views of the demoniac civilization that we unfortunately happen to be hosted by. We cannot. We almost oppose everything that is promoted by the modern civilization. Almost everything. So that has to be clearly understood. Okay, fourth, as mentioned above, the Lord entered his home palaces occupied by 16,108 queens. This means that the Lord at once expanded himself in as many plenary expansions as there were queens and palaces, and entered in each and every one of them simultaneously and separately. Here is another manifestation of the feature of his internal potency. He can expand himself in as many forms of spiritual identity as he desires, even though he is one without a second. It is confirmed by the Shruti mantra that the Absolute is one alone and yet becomes many as soon as he so desires. Manifold expansions of the Supreme Lord are manifested as plenary and separated portions. The separated portions are representations of his energy, and the plenary portions are manifestations of his personality. Thus, the personality of Godhead manifested himself in 16,108 plenary expansions and simultaneously entered into each and every one of the palaces of the queens. This is called Vaibhava, or the transcendental potency of the Lord. And because he can do so, he is also known as Yogeshwara. Ordinarily, a yogi or mystic living being is able to expand himself at most to 10-fold expansions of his body, but the Lord can do so to the extent of as many thousands or millions as he likes. Unbelievers become astonished to learn that Lord Krishna married more than 16,000 queens because they think of Lord Krishna as one of them and measure the potency of the Lord by their own limited potency. One should know, therefore, that the Lord is never on the level of the living beings who are but expansions of his marginal potency. And one should never equate the potent and the potency, although there is very little difference of quality between the potent and the potency. Qualitatively, we are almost the same as the Lord, but quantitatively, we are infinitesimal and he is infinite. The queens were also expansions of his internal potency. And thus the potent and his potencies are perpetually exchanging transcendental humors, feelings, Old English, known as the pastimes of the Lord. One should not therefore become astonished to learn that the Lord married so many wives. On the contrary, one should affirm that even if the Lord marries 16,000 million wives, he is not completely manifesting his unlimited and inexhaustible potency. He married only 16,000 wives and entered in each and every one of the different palaces just to impress in the history of the human beings on the surface of the earth that the Lord is never equal to or less than any human being, however powerful he may be. No one, therefore, is either equal to or greater than the Lord. The Lord is always great in all respects. God is great, is eternal truth. Therefore, as soon as the queen saw from a distance their husband, who had been away from home for a long period due to the battle of Kurukshetra, they all arose from the slumber of meditation and prepared to receive their most beloved. According to Yagyavalkya's religious injunctions, a woman whose husband is away from home should not take part in any social functions, should not decorate her body, should not laugh, and should not go to any relative's house in any circumstance. This is the vow of the ladies whose husbands are away from home. Actually, these restrictions are primarily designed to keep the woman happy. Because if illicit relationships develop, men will simply enjoy the woman and leave. But the women become emotionally very much attached, and they suffer more than the men. So everything is arranged in Vedic Dharma in such a manner that the more vulnerable members of the community are given more protection. And protection is given in terms of restrictions. Just like in today's world also, more or less, in countries where a large segment of the young population is obsessed with succeeding in competitive examinations, they keep away from romantic love, the ones who want to succeed. And not only that, they keep away from several social disturbances, several things which they consider to be social disturbances, anything which prevents them from achieving their goals. So they understand that this romantic love and all, it's just like some kind of a drug which affects you. You should keep away from that. So like that, in Vedic civilization also, they kept away from anything which can possibly lead to illicit relationship. And the one who is more prone to that, they are given more protection. A man can very easily show affection to a woman and capture her attention and then enjoy her and leave her and go. But who's going to suffer more? Right now, they think that they don't suffer so much because there is a whole technology of contraception. But this technology of contraception comes with its own miseries. There are various health complications that come about. Previously, because there were birth control was very, very difficult. Therefore, people were naturally very frightened of going beyond a certain limit. But now that arrangement is not there, and therefore they think that we just need to protect ourselves and we can enjoy. But overall, it has not produced very good results. It has emotionally disturbed a lot of people to such an extent that people are now not so much convinced that they should marry in Europe. They're thinking we should just live together. But if you just live together, then you don't produce stable communities. There's a long report produced by certain pediatricians, those who take care of children, their physical and mental health, about all the problems created by cohabitation or live-in relationships. So it has only worsened the situation. So therefore, everything was very, very carefully dealt with, very, very carefully dealt with. This is the vow of the ladies whose husbands are away from home. At the same time, it is also enjoined that a wife should never present herself before the husband in an unclean state. She must decorate herself with ornaments and good dress, and should always be present before the husband in a happy and joyous mood. The queens of Lord Krishna were all in meditation, thinking of the Lord's absence, and were always meditating upon him. The Lord's devotees cannot live for a moment without meditating on the Lord. And what to speak of the queens, who are all goddesses of fortune, incarnated as queens in the pastimes of the Lord at Dwaraka. They can never be separated from the Lord, for he is always with them, either by his personal presence or by the trance. The gopis at Vrindavan could not forget the Lord when he was away in the forest cowherding. When the Lord, boy Krishna, was absent from the village, the gopis at home used to worry about him, traversing the rough ground with his soft lotus feet. By thinking thus, they were sometimes overwhelmed in trance and mortified in the heart. Such is the condition of the pure associates of the Lord. They're always in trance, and so the queens also were in trance during the absence of the Lord. Presently, having seen the Lord from a distance, they at once gave up all their engagements, including the vows of women as described above. According to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there was a regular psychological reaction on the occasion. First of all, rising from their seats, although they wanted to see their husband, they were deterred because of feminine shyness, but due to strong ecstasy to see the Lord. They overcame that stage of weakness and became caught up with the idea of embracing the Lord, and this thought actually made them unconscious of their surrounding environment. This prime state of ecstasy annihilated all other formalities and social conventions, and thus they escaped all stumbling blocks on the path of meeting the Lord. And that is the perfect stage of meeting the Lord of the soul, Sri Krishna. 32. Tammatma jair drishtibhir antaratmana duranta bhava parirebhire patim niruddhamapya sravadambu netrayor vilajyati nam bhruguvarya vaiklavat. The insuperable ecstasy was so strong that the queens who were shy first embraced the Lord in the innermost recesses of their hearts. Then they embraced him visually, and then they sent their sons to embrace him, which is equal to personal embracing. But, O chief amongst the Bhrigus, although they tried to restrain their feelings, they inadvertently shed tears. Atra hetu. Why did they do like this? Duranta bhava. Gambhira vipraya. Because their intentions were very gravely hidden in their hearts. But it came out, became exposed because they shed tears even though they did not want to. Atra atmaja dwara alinganena kanta bhava abhasyate. Sending one's own child or children to be embraced by one's husband is just a reflection of one's conjugal affection. Tad dwara, tat sambhoga, ayogya dwara. This is not conjugal enjoyment. Samadhanam cha priti samanya pariposhaya eva tatha acharitam. Natu kanta bhava poshaya. This is just to nourish general affection, not to nourish conjugal love. Tat pariposhastu drishtyadi dwara eva. That is nourished by glancing and so on. Tasmat na dosha iti. So there's nothing wrong with that. Duranta bhava atra sambhogakyo raso gopyaha. Conjugal feelings are hidden. Atmajad dwara parirambhanena sambhoga rasa avarakaha patyuchita maitri matra atmakaha. It is just to indicate good wishes towards a husband. Therefore, they sent their children for embracing. And that is with a show of covering up their attitude for conjugal enjoyment. Prathamam Drishtibhi. First, they embraced him through the glance. Tataha Antaratmana. Then they embraced him inside in their hearts. Tataha Atmajaihi Parirebire. And afterwards, through their children. Although due to feminine shyness, there were many hindrances to embracing the dear husband, Lord Sri Krishna. The queens performed that act by seeing him, by putting him in the course of their hearts, and by sending their sons to embrace him. Still, the act remained unfinished, and tears rolled down their cheeks despite all endeavors to check them. One indirectly embraces the husband by sending the son to embrace him because the son is developed as part of the mother's body. The embrace of the son is not exactly the embrace of husband and wife from the sexual point of view, but the embrace is satisfaction from the affectionate point of view. Marital chastity, selfless affection, romantic attraction, erotic passion, sexual union. All of this is involved in conjugal relationships in Vedic Dharma in general. And they are just reflections of the original spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual kingdom. Whatever is reflected here, even within Vedic Dharma, is actually perverted to some degree. And when it is further reflected in the world of Adharma, it is even more doubly perverted. The embrace of the eyes is more effective in the conjugal relation. And thus, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, there's nothing wrong in such an exchange of feeling between husband and wife. In Vedic Dharma, it is clearly understood that even in material rasas, the conjugal rasa is meant to contain all the elements of the lower rasas. So wife is not just meant to be a wife. She is also meant to be a caretaker like a mother. She's meant to be a friend like a sister. She's meant to be like a maidservant. She's also meant to be an admirer. All of the rasas are put in. This is also the reason why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur provides so much of warning. You keep away from female association. Keep away. Bumper Maya it is in the material world. 33. Yadyapyaso parshvagato rahogatas tathapi tasyangri yugam navam. Pade pade kavi rameta tatpadar chalapi yachvir na jahati karhichit. Although Lord Shri Krishna was constantly by their sides as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? This reference to the feet of Lord Krishna indicates that they were having an attitude of submission towards the Lord. This is not astonishing for those who have such natural extreme affection towards the Lord, that they experience the Lord's features in newer and newer ways. Which other woman would keep herself away from the Lord's lotus feet? In other words, who will be bored with relishing the lotus feet of Lord Krishna? And then therefore this example of the goddess of fortune, who is Chanchala Swabhava, who is flickering. That means the goddess of fortune does not bless a person continuously, or a person's dynasty continuously. Sometimes the family is rich, sometimes the same family later on will become poor over the generations, or the same person will be rich for some time in one's life, or even one full life completely, or for a few lifetimes, but then afterwards he will not be. Conditioned living beings are always after the favor of the goddess of fortune. Although by nature she is moving from one place to another. In the material world, no one is permanently fortunate, however clever one may be. There have been so many big empires in different parts of the world. There have been so many powerful kings all over the world. And there have been so many fortunate men, but all of them have been liquidated gradually. This is a law of material nature, but spiritually it is different. According to the Brahma Samhita, the Lord is served very respectfully by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. They are always in a lonely place also with the Lord. So the idea is that even though in this world, prosperity is not permanent, in the spiritual world, it's not like that. There, the spiritual world is always prosperous. The goddesses of fortune are always serving the Lord. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord is served very respectfully by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. They are always in a lonely place also with the Lord. But still, the association of the Lord is so inspiringly newer and newer that they cannot quit the Lord for a moment, even though they are by nature very restless and are moving about. The spiritual relation with the Lord is so enlivening and resourceful that no one can leave the company of the Lord once having taken shelter of Him. The living beings are by constitution feminine by nature. The male or enjoyer is the Lord. And all manifestations of these different potencies are feminine by nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings are designated as Paraprakriti, or the superior potency. The material elements are Aparaprakriti, or the inferior potency. Such potencies are always employed for the satisfaction of the employer or the enjoyer. The supreme enjoyer is the Lord Himself, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 5.29. The potencies, therefore, when engaged directly in the service of the Lord, revive their natural color, and thus there is no disparity in the relation of the potent and potency. Generally, people engaged in service are always seeking some post under the government or the supreme enjoyer of the state. Since the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of everything in and outside the universe, it is happiness to be employed by Him. Once engaged in the supreme governmental service of the Lord, no living being wishes to be relieved from the engagement. The highest perfection of human life is to seek some employment under the Lord's supreme service. That will make one extremely happy. One need not seek the moving goddess of fortune without the relation of the Lord. Okay, I'll stop with that.
Prabhu.
Oh, there's something in the chat. Can we donate organs like eyes, etc.? Is it Vedic? This requires to be analyzed. There is a view that if whatever we donate, we will be bound by punya. But householders are also instructed to donate. If householders do not engage in their household duties, in addition to their spiritual duties, they also have household duties, then that is inappropriate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a householder executed the duties of a householder also. He also gave in charity. He was not just engaged in Krishna consciousness and gave others Krishna consciousness. He also gave poor people what poor people require. So there's a householder's duty, but if a householder's family member dies, should their organs be donated? This is not clear to me. There are some risks involved. What if you give your eyes donated to someone who uses those eyes for not the best purposes? It's not so easily settled. It's a very good sentiment that I should help others. But to what extent it is useful, that also should be examined. It'll be good to check if what Prabhupada said about this organ donation. When I did some check, I could not find anything. But if someone else can find, that will be useful. Achyutanam Prabhu.
When Prabhupada Guru Maharaj warned repeatedly, be away from women, and you mentioned that.
What? Say again. Slowly.
This is in
There's something wrong with your connection, so you have to speak slowly but loudly.
Prabhu, I hope it's little. When conjugal rasa was, when you mentioned that it contains all lower rasas, and how wife she acts as a friend also and as a
No, he
caretaker.
meant to, that's all. But
Then,
in today's world, it doesn't happen. Today's world, these things don't happen. That's why people are so dissatisfied. That's why divorces are so commonplace, or illicit relationships are commonplace.
okay, but if it
First of all,
happens,
the starting point itself is wrong. The girl is meant to be married before puberty. That is illegal in most countries, including the great India. So what can be done? So then they have an idea that the first love is life love. It is love for whole life, which is a fact. It is a simple fact. So it is a gigantic mess. That's all.
Asking be away from women, when you related this with this line, I could not catch that how she is bumper map, because she is having so many roles
Because
to
if she
play,
follows
so
all these
attachment
things
is more in that way.
because to whatever degree she follows dharma, to that degree she becomes a source of great attraction, and then it becomes very difficult to develop vairagya, vidya, bhakti. That is why.
Okay, now clear.
And if she doesn't follow this, that becomes another problem, because then you develop tamoguna. Adharma increases tamoguna.
Okay.
Do we need to hear Guru Maharaj lectures also regularly? Is hearing Prabhupada sufficient? No, we need to listen to, not just listen to lectures, but these are all very important. We accept spiritual masters. The whole idea is to increase in our Krishna consciousness. We require constant motivation, constant guidance. And all of these things help in different ways. It's not just listening to lectures. We also try to engage in service to our spiritual masters. We should. We should hear Prabhupada also. Hearing Prabhupada is quite reduced in many places in ISKCON. So therefore, that should be promoted also. And we should try to serve Prabhupada's mission by carrying out his explicit instructions. All of this needs to be done. All right. Vanshakalpatarubhyasya vipasantabhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.